What would you do if a tiny, shaking puppy started following you like her life depended on it? She didn't bark. She didn't growl. She didn't make a sound. Just those eyes locked on the officer's every step. At first, it seemed like she was lost, maybe abandoned. But then she turned, looked back, whined, and ran. Not away, but towards something. That officer could have ignored it, could have brushed it off. But something in that puppy's eyes whispered louder than any scream. Please follow me. What she led her to, deep in the woods, left even a hardened police officer in tears. Officer Isabel Reyes had seen a lot in her 25 years on the force. Runaways, break-ins, even a few cases that still haunted her in quiet moments. But nothing quite like this. It was a cold, gray morning. Reyes was finishing her patrol shift in a quiet rural neighborhood when she noticed something unusual in her side mirror. A small, scruffy German Shepherd puppy was following her cruiser. Not running, not chasing, just walking. Determined, focused. She slowed down. The puppy kept pace. Reyes frowned, pulled over, and stepped out of the car. The pup stopped, tail low, ears half back, trembling but not retreating. Hey there, girl, where's your family? No tag, no collar, just dirty, matted fur and big brown eyes that looked far too serious for a creature that small. Reyes knelt down, hand outstretched. The puppy took one cautious step forward, then paused. She whined, a soft, pleading sound, and turned her head. And then she started walking away. But after a few steps, she stopped, turned back, and looked at Reyes again. It wasn't random. It wasn't fear. It was deliberate. Wait, are you trying to show me something? It sounded ridiculous, even to her. But she'd seen enough in her life to know when something wasn't nothing. So she followed. The puppy glanced back, gave another soft whine, and began trotting ahead. Faster this time, weaving between trees at the edge of the road. Reyes hesitated for a second. Technically, her shift was almost over. She could radio it in, call animal control, let someone else deal with it. But then she remembered her own dog, Max. The one she lost 2 winters ago. And how, in his last days, he used to look at her the same way, like he trusted her with something fragile. So she took a deep breath, radioed in a short break, and followed the tiny shepherd puppy into the woods. What she would find next would change her life forever. The woods behind the road were quiet. Still, the kind of place that made every snap of a twig sound louder than it should. Officer Reyes followed the puppy, boots crunching softly over frostbitten leaves. The little German shepherd darted ahead, stopping every few feet to make sure Reyes was still behind her. She would glance back with those anxious eyes, then move again, faster each time, more desperate. This wasn't wandering. It wasn't play. It was leading. Reyes could feel her heart starting to beat harder, not from exertion, but from the unknown pressing in all around her. Where are you taking me, girl? The trees grew thicker, the trail more uneven. Briars tugged at her uniform. A low branch scratched her cheek. Still, the pup pushed forward, now panting with urgency. They crossed a shallow creek, Reyes nearly slipping on the wet rocks. The puppy, nimble and quick, turned sharply toward a rocky clearing ahead. Then she stopped, whined, and walked slowly toward a large pile of leaves and debris nestled against a fallen tree trunk. That's when Reyes saw it. At first, it just looked like an old plastic crate, the kind used for transporting pets. But as she stepped closer, she saw it was cracked open, twisted, half buried. One of its doors was broken off completely. And then a sound. Faint, raspy, not a bark, not a growl, a soft, wheezing whimper. Reyes dropped to her knees and gently pushed the debris aside. Her breath caught. Inside, huddled together in the back of the broken crate, were 3 tiny puppies. Skin and bone, their eyes dull, bellies bloated from hunger, ribs showing, barely moving. The 4th puppy, the one who had led her here, stood beside Reyes now, tail low, body shaking, but eyes locked on her siblings. She hadn't been looking for food. She hadn't been lost. She'd been begging for help. Reyes felt the sting behind her eyes before she even realized she was crying. These puppies, they had been left here. Someone had abandoned them deep in the woods, locked in a broken crate with no food, no water, no chance. But one had escaped. And instead of running away, she went looking for someone. Someone who would listen. You brave little thing, Reyes whispered, gently picking up the weakest pup and cradling it in her arms. The puppy leaned into her, soft whines escaping its tiny throat. She looked down at the one who led her here, standing guard, still trembling, still watching. You saved them, Reyes whispered. You saved them all. The wind picked up, rustling the trees above. A cold gust swept through the clearing, but Officer Reyes barely noticed. She sat in the dirt, knees on the forest floor, her jacket now draped over the frail bodies of the 3 surviving puppies. The silence hit harder than any siren. No barking, no movement, just shallow breaths. One of them, a brown and black runt, didn't even open its eyes. Reyes gently pressed her fingers to its tiny rib cage. Still breathing, but barely. She reached for her radio, voice shaking as she called it in. Dispatch, this is Unit 12. I need emergency animal control assistance. Coordinates coming now. I have 4 abandoned puppies. 3 critical. She gave her location and closed the radio, then glanced over at the little German shepherd who had brought her here. The puppy was now sitting beside the crate, tail curled around her feet. Her head tilted as she watched Reyes wrap the others in whatever warmth she could offer. There was no panic in her anymore. No barking. No whining. She had done her job. She had brought someone. She had hope. And in that still moment, Reyes realized something painful. If she hadn't followed that puppy, these babies would have died here. Cold. Alone. Forgotten. Who could do this? Who could look into these innocent faces and leave them to fade into the forest? Reyes had dealt with criminals, seen her share of cruelty, but this was different. This was silent cruelty, the kind that no one reports, the kind that never makes the news. You shouldn't have had to do this alone, she whispered, reaching out and pulling the brave puppy into her lap. The shepherd melted into her, letting out a long, trembling sigh as if she'd been holding her breath for days. And maybe she had. Reyes looked around the woods. No signs of recent human activity. No footprints. Just one broken crate, and a brave little soul who refused to give up. She could feel something stirring in her chest. Not just sadness, but something deeper. This puppy, she didn't just survive. She chose to act. She could have run. But instead, she followed the road. She waited for someone who would understand. Someone who would listen. And somehow, through fate or instinct or something unexplainable, she found the one person who needed saving too. Because truthfully, Reyes hadn't felt this much purpose in years. It took nearly 40 minutes for animal control to arrive. But Reyes didn't move. She stayed right there in that forest clearing, jacket wrapped tight around the puppies, hand gently resting on the brave shepherd's back. Every few minutes, she whispered to them, a quiet voice trying to fill the silence. You're safe now. You're not alone anymore. The brave little girl, the one who had led her here, never wandered far. She curled beside her siblings, licking their ears, nuzzling them with her nose, checking them over again and again. It was instinct. Love. Loyalty. Reyes watched with awe. You've been their guardian this whole time, haven't you? She murmured. The puppy looked up at her, and in that moment, something clicked. A thread pulled tight between them. Not just because of what happened, not just because of the rescue, but something deeper, something unspoken. Reyes had been alone, too. Her partner had retired last year. Her grown son lived 3 states away. And after losing Max, her loyal old German shepherd, she'd sworn she'd never get another dog. The heartbreak had been too much. But this wasn't a coincidence. This puppy hadn't just saved her siblings. She had shown Reyes something she hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. When the van finally pulled up, 2 techs rushed out with blankets and carriers. They moved quickly, skillfully, checking vitals, administering fluids, logging temperatures. The 3-week puppies were bundled up and loaded into the van, their fates now in the hands of professionals. But the 4th one, the one who led the officer, wouldn't leave her side. Every time they tried to guide her toward the van, she resisted, eyes glued to Reyes. Whining softly, Reyes looked at the tech and said, without hesitation, "She's coming with me." The tech smiled, not surprised in the slightest. "She's picked you," he said. "Happens more than you'd think." Back in the patrol car, Reyes gently lifted the puppy into the passenger seat. She curled into the seat like she belonged there. And as Reyes started the engine, a thought crossed her mind, one so clear it felt like a whisper from her heart. Hope. That's what she would name her. Not just because the puppy had clung to hope when most would have given up, but because she had given it back, too. 2 weeks later, Officer Isabel Reyes stood in the waiting room of the local animal shelter, her uniform replaced by jeans and a hoodie. In her arms, nestled against her chest, was a now healthy, wagging little German shepherd named Hope. And in the recovery crates across the room, her siblings were alive. Tired, healing, but alive. It had taken 4 fluids, round-the-clock care, and donations from local rescue groups. But they had made it. All because one tiny puppy refused to give up. The shelter director approached with a smile. The others are nearly ready for adoption. We've already got 2 families interested. Reyes nodded, smiling softly. They deserve the best. Every one of them. And Hope? She already had the best. From the moment she climbed into Reyes' cruiser, she never left her side. At home, she had a warm bed, food she didn't have to fight for, and a human who saw her not just as a rescue, but as a hero. Hope followed her everywhere. To the kitchen, to the mailbox, even waited by the door when Reyes showered. It was like she was afraid to lose her. As if somewhere deep inside, she still remembered what it was like, the cold, the silence, the hunger. But more than anything, she remembered the moment someone showed up and chose to stay. And Reyes? She found herself laughing again, smiling more, sleeping better. She hadn't just rescued Hope. Hope had rescued her too. One morning, during a neighborhood patrol, a child ran up to Reyes' parked cruiser, pointing excitedly. "Is that your dog, officer?" Hope sat proudly in the passenger seat, ears perked, tail thumping. "Yup," Reyes smiled. "She's my partner now." The child beamed. "She looks really happy." Reyes looked at the pup beside her. She was right. Hope wasn't the same fragile thing that had once trembled in the woods. She was strong, confident, home. And maybe that's what this story is really about. Not just the rescue, not just the survival, but what happens when someone finally sees you. When someone hears your silent cry and answers it with love. Hope didn't just lead Reyes to her siblings. She led her back to herself, back to the part that still believed in kindness, in purpose, in second chances. And maybe that's what all of us are really looking for. Not just someone to save us, but someone to walk beside us. When we're tired, lost, scared, and too small to carry the world alone. Sometimes, the loudest cries for help aren't loud at all. They come in the form of a puppy's quiet steps behind a stranger. In the eyes that say, please, when no sound escapes. In the decision to run toward someone, not away. That's what makes this story unforgettable. Hope didn't have a voice. She had no words. But what she did have was heart. Enough to carry her siblings. Enough to pull in someone with the power to change everything. And now, because she tried, lives were saved. Including Officer Reyes' life, in a way no one saw coming. This wasn't just a dog rescue story. This was a lesson in courage, empathy, and the power of trusting your instincts, even when you're small, even when you're scared. So here's the part where we turn it to you. How many silent cries go unanswered every day? How many people or animals are waiting for someone to stop, to listen, to care? Let Hope's story be a reminder. That kindness still matters. That compassion still changes the world. And that you, yes, you, have the power to be the person who shows up when it matters most. If this story moved you, do one thing today. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs to believe in goodness again. And subscribe for more powerful rescue stories. Because the world needs more hope and more people like you. This is the Pet Perspective, where we don't just tell stories. We give voices to those who never had one. Until next time, stay kind, stay human, and never ignore a silent cry for help.